What's up, everybody? It's your boy Brett from BPxGarage, and welcome to the very first BPxGarage YouTube segment that we are going to do, and what's going to kick off the build series for the 2021 Ducati V4. So I want to do a little bit of an introduction of myself, and as well as kind of the point of the channel and kind of what direction we're heading. And so basically over the last couple of years, I've been really building my platform and my following base over on Instagram, a little bit on TikTok. Both are under BPxGarage. And so kind of give you an idea of kind of how did we land here? What are we looking at here? Obviously we're looking at a Ducati V4, but how did we get here? What inspired me to do the channel? And all that stuff. So I guess we can kind of jump back a little bit and just talk about my motorcycle history. And I'm gonna kind of make this short. I'm gonna fly through it. I might miss a couple of topics. If you guys have any questions for me, feel free to leave them in the comment section, and I'll be sure to answer as many of those as I possibly can. But to give you an idea, I grew up riding motocross. From the time I was 10, 11 years old, I rode dirt bikes. Over the next 10 years, from the time I was 10 up till about 20, I raced motocross a lot. I actually didn't get into the street bike scene until 2019. So I got my first bike in 2019. It was a 2007 Yamaha R6. I didn't have that bike too long, to be honest. Maybe, I don't know, maybe half a year, maybe 9-10 months. I ended up selling that bike. That year was kind of a rough year. Kind of went through some things and stuff like that. So I sold the bike, and I did not get another motorcycle until 2021. I was getting everything kind of situated, getting everything back together, and I ended up buying a Kawasaki Z650, which it's a fun bike. It's a great wheelie bike, but I kind of regretted that purchase. I did sell that bike, made my money back. I fixed that bike up a little bit. We threw an exhaust system on it, nothing too crazy, and it was a nice looking bike. Then in 2022, I bought a 2016 Kawasaki ZX6R, and that's kind of what started me enjoying building the motorcycles. And I say build very lightly, because it won't be until now with the Ducati V4 what I really consider it a build, essentially. With the ZX6, we changed the fairings, we did a lot of bolt-ons, we flashed and tuned, did a better fuel pumps and things like that. I wouldn't necessarily, it's a full build, because I would still say the motorcycle itself is maybe 50% or more still stock factory. The engine was never touched. We didn't really do any suspension work. The factory wheels are still there. So I don't know if I would necessarily consider that a build. After the ZX6, which I do still have, I bought a 2021 BMW S1000 in January of 2023. That bike I did transition. We did a little bit more of a build on, but again, I say that very lightly. For those of you guys that build race bikes and stuff, I get it. Bolt-ons and fairings isn't really a build. So, but the bike was beautiful. We did do a ultralight set of wheels from Dimag. Did a kind of a custom color, custom wrap. We PPF'd the bike, did a full exhaust system on that. Really just kind of made that bike look very unique, a lot more different aesthetically than a lot of the other BMW S1000s. When people saw that bike, they knew, oh, hey, that's Brett, BPxGarage's BMW. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And with the color aesthetic that was on that, which I'll show you right here, this color aesthetic was truly, beautiful. You could just look at this bike. It had a lot of forged carbon on it, which was beautiful. And with that white suit that I had from Ride Ridge, I ended up getting the nickname Iceman. So I kind of liked it. I love that. And I love those colors. I love the blue and white. So yeah, so that's kind of a little bit of a backstory of kind of here we are. Now, to touch base real quick, I'm not going to do the whole story. If you want to see the whole story, it is on my Instagram. But I crashed the BMW and it ended up being totaled, which was very disappointing at the time. Fortunately, I had full coverage insurance. Insurance paid out very well, took good care of me. And I had my gear on, so I walked away just fine. Didn't break any bones. Very, very minor injury. I had a tiny bit of road rash on my butt cheek from sliding down the highway. But overall, my gear held up very well, and I was happy that nothing bad happened. So fortunately, yes, the BMW was totaled. So that's how and why we are here today with a new bike. And I want to kind of talk about why we went this direction rather than any other direction of motorcycle we could have chose. And so this is purely my opinion. So when it came down to choosing what bike I wanted to go for next, obviously a lot of options. I will say that this really wasn't even in my thought process at the initial time. But also building another BMW did not sound appealing to me. I had already done it. I had already been there, done that. It just sounded boring. It felt like it just wasn't going to be fun. And I knew that I really wanted to kind of vlog, do some, not necessarily install instructionals, but just kind of bring you guys along with the build. And doing the S1000 after I'd already done it just did not sound fun. It didn't sound engaging, and I really wanted this to be different. I had a lot of choices, the R1, the R1M. The R1M wasn't up there high on the list, and the reason being was because I knew what I wanted to do to the motorcycle. I knew that I wanted to change a lot, and so by buying the R1M and then changing it kind of seemed like a waste of money. So the R1 was on my list, but in all honesty, coming from a BMW, kind of what's considered an exotic motorcycle, I guess I could say, I'm not going to say it was a downgrade, because all you R1 fans and all you guys that ride R1s, those are awesome bikes. Nothing beats the sound of a cross-plane engine, other than maybe this. Anyway, it just kind of boiled down to, this was kind of the next direction. It was another exotic. Not necessarily a huge fan of Aprilia, and MV Agusta, at least for street riding, didn't have the engine that I wanted to ride on the street. Great track bikes though, for sure, absolutely. The F3, the older F4, those are great motorcycles. So that's why I chose the Ducati V4. Now, let's talk about why did I choose the base model V4. And there's a really good reason for that. So, like I kind of mentioned with the R1M, I knew what direction and I knew exactly what I wanted to do to this motorcycle and just how far I wanted to take it. So buying the base, first of all, the base V4 is obviously the cheaper of the other versions of the V4. So you have that. Two, like I just said, we're going to completely change and upgrade almost everything on this motorcycle and make it more of a true build series. So could I have gone with the V4S? Absolutely. But for what I'm wanting to do, the electronic suspension alone, just that didn't make sense for me to spend that money. Now, I know that's not all that comes on the V4S. I know you get the Marchesini wheels. Doubt I'm saying that right. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I'm not a fan of the V4S factory wheels, so I knew I was going to change those. So ultimately, really the only upgrade I would have gotten was the electronic suspension. Now, I'm not bashing the electronic suspension. The Ducati V4S electric suspension is phenomenal. There's a lot of tech there, a lot of ingenuity, and it does a lot for you while you're riding. It really keeps you planted. Suspension is extremely important. That's why we are going to upgrade the OEM factory Showa suspension and rear shock. We are going to change that out and put a much better system in. But again, this is exactly why I chose the V4 base, was because I know what I want to do to this motorcycle. We are going to really upgrade a lot on this bike. Suspension, wheels, braking. We are going to do a very in-depth tune. Aesthetically, a lot's going to change for this bike as well. Not just performance. Full exhaust system. I say full system. If you're not familiar with the Ducati V4, and those of you that are will agree with me, the full system doesn't do really much of anything that the 3/4 system doesn't do. There is very minimal to no power gain by doing the full system on this bike. But the price difference between the 3/4 system and the full system is significantly different, like $3,000 plus different. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to go with a full system. Now, truly the benefit of the full system is going to be a minimum amount of weight savings up front. Obviously, if you go with the titanium header, but the science behind doing the titanium versus the factory headers and stuff, there's a lot of science there where it's, titanium gets rid of heat very fast, whereas other metals do not. And so the higher the heat, the faster the exhaust fumes or exhaust burning off, which I'm not going to get too technical with it, but sometimes that's better. You want that. And that's just me learning from other true race bike builders and what I've heard from being in the scene and being in the motorcycle world. But I'm by no means an expert. But anyway, yes, so the exhaust system we're going to change out and all of that. And so most likely we'll do a 3/4 system, but we're going to do all of the obvious upgrades and then a lot of really fun upgrades, a lot of custom parts. Yeah, so I've already kind of rambled on for a little too long, but I really wanted to give an introduction to the YouTube channel, what we're doing with this motorcycle, kind of the direction we're going to go. One point I do want to make is that we are going to also document and make note of weight reduction. So anything that we pull off this bike, first and foremost, the exhaust system, we're going to weigh that against whatever system that I end up going with. I kind of already know what system I'm getting, but we won't talk about that just yet. But we're going to weigh all of this. We're going to put a lightweight lithium battery in here, so we're going to weigh the factory battery versus that lightweight one. We're going to weigh the mirrors because we're going to take the mirrors off. Now, obviously, if I go with block-off plates, that's going to be a decent amount of weight savings. Nothing too crazy, but we'll get some. If I go with the Rizoma Stealth mirrors, we might have a hair of weight savings, maybe not. But long story short, we're going to weigh everything. And so what I'm going to do is I want to document all of that. And we'll have that like on a whiteboard or something. And we'll tally up the weight reduction savings. So once the build is done, we can talk about the weight reduction. We can talk about how much we've spent on the build overall. This is going to be a very fun motorcycle build, and this time I want to bring you guys along with me, and we can do this together, and you guys can ask all the questions, and you guys may be able to give me some tips. So anyway, I really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you. I'm excited for this, and I hope you guys are just excited as me for this Ducati V4 build series. Anyway, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.